are going to learn something about laboratory diagnosis of fungal infections. I think most of you might have joined by this time. Now the XCC problem is resolved. So in your last lecture, all of you have gone through the basics of mycology. What are the different infections caused due to fungi, which type of fungi are there. So in the classification of fungi, you know that there are yeast-like fungi, mold and dimorphic fungi. And all these fungi cause variety of infections leading to superficial infections, subcutaneous infections, deep or systemic infections and opportunistic fungal infections. Now these are the various types of infections which are caused due to fungi, and when we come to the laboratory diagnosis of these fungal infections, we have 4 different modes of diagnostic modalities. Now in that we have microscopy. So first is microscopy, then we can cultivate the fungi on different fungal media. We can do their morphological study and go for serology along with few higher investigations, molecular investigations. Now coming to the first, that is microscopy. In that, for fungi we have different types of staining techniques, which is KOH preparation and chalcofluor white preparation. We will go to the details of these two. Now this is a fluorescent staining. Chalcofluor white is a fluorescent staining technique. Then we can use gram stain or negative staining. Lactophenol cotton blue preparation, which is for identification of fungi which are grown in the laboratory. Then we can do slide culture. We have cultures where we use specific media for growing fungi like Sagrot, dextrose agar, the short form is SDA. In sometimes these specific fungal culture media are added with antibiotics so as to inhibit the bacteria. So you can add cycloheximide and chloramphenicol into these media to make it selective for fungi. Then corn meal agar is another medium which is basically used for seeing the characteristics of yeast like candida, yeast like fungi like candida, and you can also study the dimorphism of fungi at various temperatures. So we will go through this in detail later on. Then you can have morphological study of the fungi which are grown in the laboratory to identify them, and various biochemical reactions can be used for identification of few of the fungi. Now, serological detection of antigen and antibody is available, and you can detect the fungi with the help of PCR or nucleic acid hybridization. So this is in a nutshell. We will go to all these things one by one in detail. Now before that, I would like to show you some clinical photographs of fungal infections so that you will come to know what are the different specimens which can be collected for diagnosis of fungal infection. Now this is a picture of oral candidiasis. You can see very well the white patches which are present in the oral cavity. Now this is usually due to a fungus candida. This is a surface infection in the mouth. Now this is the infection of nails, you can see. So these infected nails are there which become brittle and colorless. Now this is very clearly seen over in this picture, where this white part is due to the fungal infection of the nail, and this part is cut and used as a specimen for diagnosis. Now this is another clinical picture. All these are the real pictures which we have taken in our hospital in the patient. So this is a Tinea corporis which is present on the skin of the back. So you can see all these fungal lesions. This is again another lesion of tinea which is present on the neck. So these are the erythematous fungal lesions which you can see, which are very well demarcated over here. Now this is another fungal infection picture where you can see this fungal lesion on the hand. So Tinea corporis present on the hand. This is a specific word utilized here, tinea cruris. When it is present in the groin and perineal region, it is called as tinea cruris. All these are superficial fungal infections which I am showing you in the picture. Now in the groin region, you can see these are the fungal lesions which are present. So all these are superficial skin infections. I am showing you these pictures so that you should know the samples can be collected directly from here. The skin scrapings are to be collected. You will see the technique in the next slide. This is tinea cruris again on the buttock. So you can see again the lesion over here. So coming to the different size and types of specimens. So few of the superficial fungal infection lesions we have seen just now. Other than that, we have subcutaneous infection, deep mycotic infection, opportunistic infection, and various systems can get affected. So depending upon the systems which are affected, we have to collect the different samples. Now in respiratory infections, you can collect sputum, bronchoalveolar lavage or bronchial brushing. For CNS infections, you have to collect the CSF sample. Suppose it is systemic infection and the fungus can be isolated from blood, then blood sample can be collected. Various other samples like tissue, bone marrow and different body fluids can be collected. Now for superficial skin infections, which can be either skin infections, hair infections or nail infections, these samples directly can be collected. So in the skin we have to collect skin scrapings. When you want to collect hair sample where there is ectostrix or endostrix infection, that means surrounding the hair you can get the fungal colonies or inside the hair the fungus may be invading. Now when you want to collect the hair samples, we can take help of Woods lamp examination. Now in Woods lamp examination, the affected hair fluoros out and usually Microsporum and Trichophyton violacum are the two fungi which when infect the hair cause hair to fluorescence, and other fungi infecting hair don't allow the fluorescence to happen. So if they fluoresce, it becomes easier for us to collect the hair sample. The infected hair you can collect it. Now whenever we want to collect hair samples, usually we should not pluck it. Those hair which are brittle or those which are easily pluckable are collected as hair samples. Now for nails, we have to collect the part of a nail with the help of a nail cutter. Now all these three things, when you collect the samples from skin or hair or skin or nails basically, you can cleanse the site with 70% alcohol before collection of the samples so as to avoid the surface bacteria. Now the other samples which we can collect are stool, urine or vaginal secretions in case of vaginal infection. Mostly it is yeast infection which is found there in vagina, mainly candidial infection. And if it is infecting eye, you can collect the different swabs from the eye or directly tissue specimen can also be collected. So these are the various specimens which you can collect for the diagnosis of fungal infection. Now coming to the transport of these specimens, most of the specimens can be directly collected in the sterile container and this can be sent to the laboratory as early as possible. Now mainly the superficial fungal infections where you are collecting the scrapings or nail or hair, these are transported in a thick folded black paper where it is folded in various folds so as to absorb the moisture in this specimen. Now this is for specifically superficial fungal infection. Now coming to the sample collection in skin scraping where there is a superficial fungal infection or you can say dermatophyte infection. Now you are going to learn all these one by one in detail: superficial, subcutaneous, deep and systemic mycosis. Now for superficial fungal infections, you have to collect the sample from outer side of the lesion with the help of blunt spatula. So start scraping out the lesion from the outer side. It is said that in the center usually there is no live fungus available. So from outer edge of the lesion we start scraping out, and this sample, scraped out skin sample, is transported to the laboratory for fungal culture or diagnosis. So you can have a look on this. This is a black paper in which the scraping is collected. Now this is folded and put into a sterile container and sent to the laboratory, or this material is directly put into a sterile container and you can send it to the laboratory for further preparation. Now another way of collection of dermatophytic culture sample is by hairbrush technique. Now a hairbrush is pipped over the hair and directly this is inoculated into the fungal culture medium which is present in a petri plate. So this is known as hairbrush technique, and you can see on this side wherever the brush has touched the medium, slight growth of fungal colonies is appearing. So this is hairbrush technique, another way of collection of sample in case of superficial fungal infection. Now coming to the first part, that is microscopy. So whenever samples are received in the laboratory, we can go for microscopy, and for fungus mainly KOH mount is done. Now in KOH mount, tissue specimens or skin scrapings, whatever you have collected, they are treated with 10% KOH and then the wet mount is studied. So a sample is taken on glass slide on which we add a drop of 10% KOH and put a cover slip. Now to this we can add glycerol which prevents, and DMSO can also for tissue direction. Now the alkali digests the cells and the other materials and the fungus gets cleared up, so we can have a better view under the microscope. Usually this thing is studied either in the low or high power of microscope. Now once you put KOH, the slide is usually heated to a minute or so gently, and then it is kept for 5 to 10 minutes, and after that we have to examine this. Now this time is for digestion of the other tissue material which is there in the sample, so as to clarify the view of the fungus. Now in case of thick material like nail, we use 40% KOH which makes the digestion of the thick tissue. So for thick nails we use 40% KOH. Also for some tissues which are received in histopathology, usually the tissue is put into a test tube containing 20 to 40% KOH and kept it for overnight to allow the digestion of the tissues, and next day we prepare a microscopic slide or KOH mount and then see for fungal tissue. So these are the preparations with the help of KOH. Now you can see this is a KOH preparation under microscope, and these are the fungal elements, hyphae, which are seen inside the microscope. So this is a microscopic view of KOH mount of fungal infection. So this is you can see these are the various fungal elements, or you can say the hyphae which are seen in the KOH mount. So this is usually reported as positive for fungal element. Now coming to the gram stain. Now gram stain is mainly useful for yeast and yeast-like fungi. So Cryptococcus and Candida can be seen in gram stain. Now they are usually gram-positive cells, and you can see them with violet color in the gram stain. So this is a picture of Candida where gram stain is done, and you can see gram-positive yeast cells, budding yeast cells along with some pseudohyphae or elongated structures in the gram stain. Now this is a picture of Cryptococcus in gram stain where you can see small capsulated yeast cells. They are also budding in the gram staining picture of CSF, or you can have them in some systemic infection. So this is the use of gram staining in the microscope. Now a third variety of microscopy can be done in diagnosis of fungal infection, that is India preparation and nigrosin stain. Now this is used for the demonstration of capsule of Cryptococcus neoformis. Now those fungi which are capsulated, they do not allow this dye to penetrate inside and stand out against a dark background. So that is the India ink preparation. Now this you can see a fungus along with a capsule around it. Here you can see the budding also, and they are standing out against a dark background. So this is a negative staining for capsulated Streptococcus yeast. Now this is another. This is a nigrosin preparation, and this is an India ink preparation. You can see again capsulated fungus standing around the dark background. Now coming to the next type of staining, that is fluorescent staining. Now for fungi we use Calcofluor white fluorescent staining, which is most sensitive method among all microscopic methods. Now here the Calcofluor white binds to the cellulose and chitin of fungal cell wall, and when it is seen under fluorescent microscope, it fluoresces under UV light. So these are the different fungal elements, or you can say the fungal hyphae which are seen in the fluorescent microscope. They are again very well seen, and this is the most sensitive method in all the methods. Now coming to the different histopathological stains which are used usually for biopsy tissue. Now first one is PAS. Now fungi appear magenta or deep pink color, and the nucleus stains blue. Now this stains only live fungi, while for dead and live both we can use the GMS stain. Now GMS stains both live and dead fungi. It stains the polysaccharide component of cell wall, and the fungi appear black against the pale green color. So background of tissues is a pale green color, and fungi usually take black color. We will see the pictures in the next slide. Then we can also use Musicarmine stain. So this is usually used for staining Streptococcus or Rhinosporidium. Masson-Fontana stain can be used for pigmented fungi, and H&E stain can also be used for seeing the fungi in tissue specimen. So this is H&E stain, which is showing broad aseptate hyphae. So these are all aseptate hyphae, broad. You can see in the H&E stain. Here fungal spirules can be seen in H&E stain. You can see these small spirules are seen. These are all fungal elements. Now this is a GMS stain, which I have told you that against green background the fungi looks like black colored fungi. So all these are fungal, circular fungal structures or cells you can see in the GMS stain. So all these are histopathological stains. Now coming to the microbiological staining part, LPCB stain, the most important stain which we use directly for identification of grown fungi in the laboratory. So this is to study the microscopic appearance of fungi grown in culture, and the short form LPCB has come from the things which are present in the stain. Now L has come from lactic acid, which usually preserves the morphology of the fungi. Now P stands for phenol, which acts as a disinfectant, and glycerol is also there in LPCB stain, which usually prevents drying of the preparation. And water blue is the stain which is used to stain the fungi, giving blue color. Now this stains the fungal element. So this is one of the LPCB mounts of the fungus, where you can see all these fungal elements in the LPCB mount taking blue color. Now coming to the next part of diagnosis, after microscopy always we go for culture. So the next thing is culture of fungi. Now remember, all fungi are aerobic and they grow better at 25 to 30 degrees centigrade. Now those causing deep mycosis grow well at 37 degrees centigrade. Now usually fungi can be grown on the routine media like blood agar, BHI agar, which are used for bacteriology, but specific media which is used for growing fungi is Sabrod dextrose agar. So the short form is SDA. Now this SDA contains 1% peptone and 4% dextrose with a acidic pH 5.4 to 5.6. So this is having an acidic pH. Now modification of this Sabrod dextrose agar are used, known as Ullmann's modification, which constitutes 1% neopeptone and 2% dextrose with neutral pH. Now, non-specific media, as I have told you, can be used like blood agar, brain heart infusion agar, and broth, which are made specific for fungi by adding antibacterial. Now, dimorphic fungi can be grown at two different temperatures. Routine fungi grow at 25 to 30 degrees, and dimorphic fungi grow at 22 to 25 degrees for within weeks, and at 37 degrees it takes days to grow. Now, these specific temperature conditions can be maintained in the specific incubators. Now, we also have one type of incubator known as BOD incubator, which is biological oxygen demand incubator, which can be set at these lower temperatures. Now, incubation time for them is usually 2 to 3 weeks, and maximum we can keep the fungal cultures for 4 to 6 weeks to identify the growth of the fungi and give a negative report. Now, usually we add antibiotics like cycloheximide, chloramphenicol and gentamicin in this culture media to inhibit the bacterial growth. Now, this cycloheximide, also known as Actideon, usually is used for inhibition of contaminant mold. So, to isolate pathogenic fungi, this is added so that the non-pathogenic fungi can be inhibited. Now, these are the few other media which are used for growing fungi in the laboratory, and these are used for some specific fungi. Now, bird seed agar, or another word is Niger seed agar, this is used for growing specifically Cryptococcus. So, this is a selective culture media for Cryptococcus. Now, you can see this is a real picture of Niger seed agar. In that, pigmented fungi grow and brown colored Cryptococcus growth usually appears on these media. So, these are the brown colonies of Cryptococcus, specific selective medium used for growing Cryptococcus. Now, there are some nutritionally deficient media which are used for stimulation of chlamydospore spore formation or resting stages of the fungi, mainly used for growing yeast-like fungi like Candida, and depending upon the structure of chlamydospores, the fungi can be further identified. So, this is cornmeal agar, which is used as a nutritionally deficient media, on which you can see the growth of the fungi in the formation of, in the picture shown here. These are the small chlamydospores which can be used over here, which can be seen over here. Now, there are some other media where you can see the pigmented growth of the fungi, and depending upon the color or the pigmented color of the, depending upon the color, we can identify the fungi. Now, here is one example of such media where you get colored growth of the medium known as chrome agar candida medium. Now, on this you can see different colored colonies of candida have grown, and depending upon these colors, now I am not going into the details because you have to still learn about candida. These are the different candida species which are showing different colors on the chrome agar candida medium. Usually candida albicans use pinkish color, and these are the other candida species which are grown over here. So, these different media can be used for growing as well as studying the further characteristics of different fungi. Now, once you grow all these fungi in the laboratory, you have to identify them further. So, for fungi, usually the identification is done on different characteristics such as rapidity of the growth of the fungi, then texture of the colony of grown fungi, the type of surface, colony surface, which can be waxy, yeast-like, leathery, velvety and cottony, etc. Now, these colonies can be having folded appearance, they can be rugose, they can be verrucous. So, you can see usually fungal colonies of pathogenic fungi other than yeast are of different varieties. This is a picture of yeast where you get small yeasty pastry colonies. Now, the color and morphology of colony on obverse and reverse is identified. Now, let me tell you what is obverse and reverse at this juncture. The front part of the sabrod. Now this sabrod and dextrose agar can be prepared in tubes as shown over here. These three are the tubes of sabrod dextrose agar, or this can be prepared in Petri plate. So this is a sabrod dextrose agar in Petri plate. So the front part is known as obverse part and the opposite part is known as reverse part of the fungi. So these all are obverse parts. I will show you the reverse part also. So the front is known as obverse part and the color and colony morphology is observed on the obverse part. Here you can see white color is there, here blackish color is there. So this is on the front side you have to observe the color of the colony. And on the reverse part you will observe the pigmentation which is produced by these fungi. Now also further you have to study the morphology of this growth fungi in the form of hyphae, conidia and other special structures in the staining, that is LPCB staining. So just have a look upon this now. This is the obverse or front part where you are going to see the colony morphology, and this is the reverse on which you can see the pigmentation. Now this sabrod dextrose agar plant is showing red color pigmentation on the reverse part. So front for colony morphology, reverse for pigmentation. Now once you get the growth of the colony on the sabrod dextrose agar, further we have to identify it with the different microscopic preparation. So in bacteriology, after getting the growth of colony, we go for gram staining, while in mycology, once we get the growth of the colony in the sabrod dextrose agar medium, we go for LPCB preparation, and the identification is done by nature of the hyphae or the type of sporulation it produces. Now another preparation which we can do is cellophane tape preparation. Now first I will go to the tease mount. Now in tease mount, a small part of colony is picked up and it is taken on a slide, and it has to be separated with the help of teaser or straight wire, and then small parts of the colonies are separated and we have to add a drop of LPCB stain on it, put a cover slip, and then it is studied under microscope. So you can just see this is a LPCB mount of a colony which is seen in a teased mount under microscope, and you can see the various structures like hyphae, then there is a vesicle, conidiophore, phyllae and small conidia. Now depending upon all these morphological features, we can further identify the fungi. Now in this you can have a small difficulty that the basic structure is disturbed. So for seeing the basic structure as it is seen in vivo, we can use a cellophane tape preparation. Now this is a simple technique again without disturbing the colony morphology. Now in cellophane tape preparation, a cellophane tape is placed on growth of sabrod dextrose agar, and over a slide take a drop of LPCB. In that you have to put that cellophane tape, and now this gives you an in situ appearance, but this can contaminate the culture. So this is usually not a preferred method, but for seeing the proper morphology you can use this technique. Now this is directly seen under microscope. Now you can see various type of special hyphal structures like spiral hyphae, racket hyphae, Feywick chandelier, and different varieties of conidia in these LPCB preparations like macroconidia, microconidia, blastospores, arthrospores and chlamydospores. Now depending upon all these morphological features, we usually further go for identification of the fungi. You have to see what are the types of hyphae, septate, non-septate, how they are dividing, what special structures you are seeing in the microscopy, and depending upon all that, the morphological feature is identified and you can identify the fungus itself. Now another way of studying fungal morphology is slide culture. Now this is slightly technically difficult procedure, but the advantage is that you can see the in situ appearance of the fungi. Now how this slide culture is done, that is explained in the next slide. Now see this, in a sterile petri dish, over a glass, over 2 matchsticks or small rods, you can take a sterile slide. Now this slide is put on which you can take a circular or 1 square centimeter piece of Seborrhoeic Spectrose agar. Here with the help of a test tube, small circular piece is taken. You can also take 1 centimeter square of Seborrhoeic Spectrose agar, where you have already Seborrhoeic Spectrose agar prepared in the Petri plate. Now it is taken on this slide, and to this slide you have to penetrate the fungus. Take a fungal colony, growth colony on your Seborrhoeic Spectrose agar with the help of a sterile toothpick or sterile straight wire, and it has to be inoculated on 3 or 4 sides of this Seborrhoeic Spectrose block, you can say. So here you can see 3 penetrated points where the fungus is inoculated from sides of the block, and now on this you have to put a cover slip. Now close your lid of the Petri plate and keep it for 48 hours, in which you will get a fungal growth around it. Now this is after 48 hours, from surrounding of this block you can see the fungal growth is coming outside. Now this growth can be studied without disturbing by directly putting or lifting up the upper cover slip and putting it into a drop of LPCB taken on a glass plate. So this is known as slide culture, and this is studied further without disturbing the morphology of the fungi. Now once you do the LPCB preparation, you can see the various morphological pictures in the LPCB slide and further go for identification of the fungi. Now I will give you a few examples how you can identify this fungi. Now this is a picture of Trichophyton rubrum fungus causing superficial infection in a Petri plate of Seborrhoeic Spectrose agar. Now this fungi is having a characteristics of producing red pigment also. So you are seeing pigmented fungi over here. And when you prepare LPCB mount of this fungi, either with sieve mount or you can go for slide culture, and then you are going to see such type of morphological feature in LPCB mount. Now here you can see bird on fence appearance. This is typical of this fungi. So for each fungi we have a typical microscopic appearance which will lead you towards the identification of fungi. Just for example, you are going to learn all these fungi in detail in the further lecture. Just for examples, I am showing you the macroscopic feature in the Seborrhoeic Spectrose agar and the corresponding microscopic LPCB mount. So this is for Trichophyton rubrum, this is for Trichophyton mentogrophytes. This is another Trichophyton species where you are seeing growth of fungus, large, smooth, thin walled, separate, pencil shaped hyphae over here. So this is KOH picture. If it is LPCB picture, you can see blue colored structures all in the LPCB mount. So macroscopic and microscopic appearance, colony and microscopic appearance. Now this is another example of Microsporum which is infecting hair and skin. In the gross picture, usually cottony, velvety, powdery colony is seen, and white to brown pigment can be seen. While microscopy in LPCB mount, specific typical macroconidia are seen, which are large, predominant, multicellular, spindle-shaped macroconidia. Now this is I am showing you just for a specific reason that this is very specific structure which is seen in Microsporum, and this will directly lead you to identification as Microsporum. So Microsporum has various subspecies like Microsporum canis, Odoni, Microsporium gypsum, and depending upon this structure further, how is the end, how it is, how many septa are there, this further subspeciation is done. Now that you are going to learn in your superficial mycosis lecture further. So just have a look upon this, that various typical pictures are seen in LPCB mount. Now this is again a fungal fracture of Epidermophyton, and this is the LPCB mount of Epidermophyton. Mainly it infects skin and nails. The colonies are powdery greenish yellow. In this Specifically, microconidia are absent and macroconidia are pear-shaped multicellular. This is the epidermophyton strophosome. So just to let you know, depending upon the typical morphology on the subross dextrosagar, colony morphology and the microscopic morphology, you can go for identification of fungi. Now, other than this microscopy and culture, we have immunological methods for diagnosis of fungi. In immunological methods, we have antibody detection and antigen detection. Now, antibody detection can be done with the help of different techniques like ELISA, complement fixation test, agglutination, counter immunoelectrophoresis, or you can use indirect fluorescence antibody technique. Now, antigen detection is specifically used in 2-3 varieties of fungal infection, either in the cryptococcal infection or some other fungal infections. Latex agglutination for cryptococcal antigen detection is a famous antigen detection technique used in mycology. So this is the most commonly used. For aspergillosis also we can have a direct latex agglutination test kit. So antigen detection and antibody detection is available in diagnosis of fungal infection. But more commonly we use microscopy and fungal culture. We can also use immunohistochemistry for demonstrating the fungi in deep mycotic infection, specifically in the tissue section. Now also kit tests are available to detect the delayed type of hypersensitivity to specific fungi. Now this is used for pathogens like histoplasma or coccidioids. Now, so this is just giving you an idea regarding the exposure to these fungi and development of delayed type of hypersensitivity. Now also you can do some tests for metabolites which are produced due to fungi, not a commonly used technique. Already we have talked about delayed hypersensitivity. Then for doing very specific identification and confirmed diagnosis of fungi, you can also use rapid techniques as culture takes longer duration for identification. Microscopy can give you some rapid idea regarding the presence or absence of fungi. If you want to have confirmed diagnosis, you can go for molecular methods like PCR and nucleic acid hybridization. Culture also gives you 100% confirmed diagnosis, but it takes time. So these are the rapid diagnostic tests for confirmed diagnosis. So rarely used techniques because it is costly and available in some specific reference centers. So you can use them but precisely. So these are the all different techniques which can be used for diagnosis of fungal infection. You are going to learn each one by one as per the fungi in each section again, but this should give you a simple general idea regarding the diagnosis of fungi. So if you want to compile, you can go for microscopy, then for fungal culture with various specific media, Stavrof-Dextrosagar, with or without antibiotics, and cycloheximide are specifically used for fungal culture. Then you can go for serology for antigen antibody detection. You can have some tests for delayed hypersensitivity, metabolic detection of different metabolites, and nucleic acid testing. So this is in nutshell what you can do for diagnosis of fungal culture. You can get a question like describe diagnosis of mycosis in detail, or you can be asked a short note on some fungal culture media or some techniques like LPCB and slide culture. So these are the things which can be asked on this topic. So this concludes your today's session about the diagnosis of fungal infection. Thank you.